The title of Steve's speech is Rise and Shine Hybrid Meetings. It's under project researching and presenting, and the time is 5 to 7 minutes. Smile. It will be a little longer than 5 to 7 minutes, I have been told. I was actually told that before. My hair is not evidently the only thing that's left my head tonight. So. Okay. Introduction. Smile. You will be on non-candid camera for this talk. Most meetings of most organizations will be hybrid to follow or to allow the most people to participate. Hybrid meetings can combine the camaraderie of in-person meetings with participants anywhere in the world. There is a cost in terms of equipment, setup, operation. Today, Steve will summarize how Rise and Shine hybrid meetings work, an example for other clubs and other organizations that he'll record. Steve will provide several handouts. Steve Piet, Rise and Shine hybrid meetings. Thank you, Steve.
As we come out of COVID, aren't we all looking forward to things being better than before the virus? And I do mean better. Most organizations pre-virus, we met in person. Occasionally you might come across an organization or a meeting, someone would video in. Then we all got forced into all-time, all-video meetings. But we knew it was temporary. Now, every organization I'm in meets partly in place, in person, on site, and partly online, Room or Zoom. If we do it right, we'll have all the advantages of in-person meetings that we had before, and the power of bringing people in from Arizona, from Nevada, Colorado, any place we wish. But we're greedy, aren't we? We want all those advantages with no pain, no difficulties. All gain, no pain. Anyone think we can pull that off? What I'm going to talk about tonight are some of the ways to minimize the pain part of that story. So when we were all on Zoom, we often had laptops with built-in cameras and microphones. Can you do that as you start moving away from the laptop? F1. My assistant here, Shane, will shift scenes in a way so quickly that you can't do it in Zoom. So now we're in. No, fine. So we have right now the laptop, but note what happened. You're hearing me through the laptop microphone. As I step away from the laptop, you can't hear me quite as well. You sure can't see me. And there's all this weird stuff around me. So as you start having more people around a computer, it might work in a conference room setup, but it doesn't work when you start having meeting rooms that are 15, 20, 30 feet wide. F2. Instead, you need other setups. And I'll talk about how this room is set up. Jackson High Club that meets Friday noon, we're moving toward a very similar setup there. And it's one of the ways to adapt the technology that we can all get our hands on to a situation where it's not a conference room, but instead there's separate audience and speaker parts of the room. So in this room, we've got a speaker set up here, and then F3, an audience portion of the room. As I go between F2 and F3, good, trigger finger over here. Then he just hits a button and the microphones shift from a conference room mic to this lapel mic, from a camera aimed at the audience to a camera aimed at the speaking zone. There's a couple of things to be aware of. So in this room, any room actually, when you have a camera in the back looking up here, you don't have the normal stage. You have to be careful of where in the room you can be and not get outside the camera. Or in the case of people that are tall like Shane, get so close to the camera that their heads cut off. I don't seem to have this problem. Shortness does have its advantages. So in this room, there's two blue lines now marking how far you can go left and right and still stay within this camera's zone. F6, please. One of the things that we do with the OBS, Open Broadcast Studio software, is we control all these different gizmos. In this room right now, there are 4 cameras and 6 microphones. And shifting all that back and forth in Zoom is possible, but difficult and slow. Another thing you can do with OBS is what I've just demonstrated. Toggle between F2 and F6, please. F2. This is a cropped view, F6, of the full view that the camera is picking up. So there's an area over to the left and right that I crop out because it's beyond the borders of my backdrop. And it's a video camera, so it puts in a little recording thing above my head. Well, F2, I want to crop that out. F2. So it's a little cleaner vision that we're sending out to the rest of the world. Now let's talk about the audience. F3. So this camera, which you can't quite see, is aimed at the audience. It's aimed and the vision is cropped so that the photographic lights in this room that provide us more illumination are not glaring at the camera. On the floor, F7. On the floor here, you can now see some of the markings on the floor to indicate where you can walk and still stay within the camera. You notice the difference between F3 and F7 is, again, I've cropped the scene in OBS to focus on that portion of the room that I want when I'm showing the audience. Now, of course, when I'm sitting where Shane is, I don't really want everybody focused on me. I'm very happy that they're focused on Shane right now, but I don't want that portion of the room heavily covered, because often I'm looking away from the camera because I'm looking at the laptop when I'm the Zoom master. Another thing to point out is that there's a backup camera sitting over here that also looks at the audience in case my main camera on the audience fails. And indeed, it died over the last 2 months. It slowly got less and less reliable. I replaced it. New camera is acting pretty well. So we do a variety of things with OBS to get more and more polished. F3, excuse me, F2. Another thing about microphones is people seem to forget the fact that microphones are designed for a particular purpose. A conference room mic is designed for that purpose. This is a lapel mic. It's designed to be close to the person's mouth. If it's way far away, you'll pick up some sound, but it won't be as much or as higher quality as if I do with it what I'm supposed to do with it, which is put it pretty close to my mouth. Now, before the virus, Toastmasters and other organizations, we had decades of practicing and polishing all the niceties of running the meetings. And we can just now start to see some of what to do in a hybrid meeting. And I'll give you an example. When we're coming up to the speaking area now. In addition to shaking hands, we shake hands with the right. I suggest, I picked this up on the internet, we pass off the lapel mic with the left hand. We have a two-hand handoff. I don't know if I'm coordinated enough to pull it off, but it's something to try, because in the coming weeks, months, years, we're all going to be practicing how to deal with hybrid meetings. This setup that's in this room has evolved over at least a half year. Same thing at Jackson High that meets at Leo's restaurant. I think most organizations are going to be evolving what works, find a new equipment, find new software, and we'll keep testing and adapting as Toastmasters have always done. So let's keep the discussions going, keep the testing going, keep the adaptations going. And that will let us get all that gain with just a little bit of pain. It can be done. And I hope my fellow Toastmasters and guests enjoy the journey that we have started toward finding the best ways of doing hybrid meetings to get all the gain with as little pain as we can get away with. Mr. Toastmaster.